Hi everyone, it's Brian from Stockcalc. I want to use this video to introduce you to the screener that we have built into the Stockcalc website. The purpose of the screener is to allow you to select the companies you're interested in based on the criteria that you provide. The way you see our screener structured is that you would select the exchange or exchanges that you're interested in. So for example, if I select New York and NASDAQ, if I hover over them I should be able to see the names of the different exchanges. I can select the date that I'm looking for, so the criteria that we're going to be selecting will be up to the date that we're using. This actually allows us to backtest some screens to look at what companies would have met what criteria at a previous point in time. Then we can select the criteria that we're interested in. You can see there's quite a wide range of criteria. Things like number of buys, sells, holds on a stock. You can look at price ranges, earnings per share, various growth rates, a number of different ratio values such as price to book, price to earnings, price to cash flow. So if I look for companies that say have a price to book ratio, and I'll use maybe a minimum of 0.5 and a maximum of 1, I'll add that criteria. I'm adding it for the New York and NASDAQ stock exchanges. You can see sometimes this takes a few seconds. Our screener is a little slower than most, but the reason for that is the data that we have underlying it and the way that we've structured it, it makes it very flexible for you. And that's part of the allure of the whole site, is that there's a lot of flexibility and direct access to the data that's underlying it. So I'm also going to pick companies that have a closed price minimum of, let's say, $50. So I'll look for big cap companies that have a low price to book ratio. And I won't bother specifying a maximum, I'll just add that criteria. So minimum of 50 and no top limit to it. And I can run that. I'll execute the stock screener. You can see Save Displayed List as Portfolio. This will actually highlight once the analysis has been run. And you can see directly the criteria that you've input. So price to book between 0.5 and 1, close price of 50 or higher. Again, it's taking a few seconds to load the data as well here. So you can see the number of companies that have come out of those two exchanges. So we have a list of about 15 or so companies that we see. So if you were looking for companies that had that low price to book ratio and had a high price, this would be a good starting point to start to look to see if these companies are undervalued. I can actually save that, as I said, to a portfolio, and then I can start to run the valuation analysis tools on those companies. I could grab any one of these companies and I could run them back through the home page, the Value and Analyze section of the home page, to run all of the models on the company to see whether they would be undervalued or not. If I want to edit any of these criteria, I simply click on them. They will load back up into the boxes. I can adjust them and then I can add them back in, as you see there. The sector section allows me to look at companies by sector and industry. So for example, I can take a look at the price to earnings ratio over time for the last 15 years. This is for basic materials. You can see the variety of sectors that we have. Or if I click on the actual sector that I'm in, I will see all of the industries within that sector, and I can look at the details for them as well. I can change these for any of them. If I'm looking for companies, if I'm looking for the return on equity, for example, from a variety of companies, I can take a look at their sector and their industry. So again, if I click on financials would be a good one. If I look at banks, regional banks in Canada, I can see what the return on equity has been for the last 15 years. So those are the screener sections of the site that allow you to start to filter down to look for companies or sectors and industries that look like they might be undervalued, something that you may be interested in.